mean.
Well, I like that aspect. You can kill people and
Yeah.
pick who you want. And yeah, we'll have to get back more into
And
it.
if you want all of them, you can have them just wait at your camp and you can swap them out.
Nice. All right, we're back. Episode 3 of the Horselick Review. Me, Nathan, Jake. Busy always in the back. Yeah, I'm going to cover some more stories today. You had a little something at the end you wanted to do, right? So let's jump right into our stories. You want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first, man.
Okay. I got a cool... This is just a short little story. I just thought it was cool. Apparently, a 45-year-old man from Colorado just broke the chin-up world record. He
How many is that then? What was the previous world record?
Frank Sagona performed 1,010 chin-ups in the allowed time, which is I think an hour.
Christ. Like continuous, didn't non-stop?
I guess you can probably stop. You have to however many you can do in an hour. He broke Stephen Hyland's record of 993, which has stood since 2011. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So I thought
How old was this dude?
45.
Okay.
He just looks like a dad. Yeah. People could want to look him up. His name is what was it? Frank Sagona. Yeah. He broke Stephen Hyland's record. Almost over 10-year record. It's pretty good.
And how many was it? 1,000 what?
1,010. He said, I felt out of breath until the 44-minute mark. I then started feeling like I could actually do it. He had an injury, too, apparently.
To any of the muscles?
He had a muscle strain in his back.
Oh.
He said, my injury slowed my chin-ups, but I actually vomited right after the event. So congratulations to Frank Sagona on setting the Guinness Book of World Record.
That makes me wonder.
Most chin-ups in an hour.
That makes me wonder how many he could have done if he wasn't injured. Like,
I know.
Would he have had 10 more in him? 20?
Was he doing like the Steve Wiebe fucking training? You remember in King of Kong how all that training he was doing in his, in his garage on the fucking Donkey Kong machine? I wonder if he was just doing chin-ups non-stop for like a year.
Now, which way do you have to grip the bar? Is that the front or like palms in or palms out?
Underhanded.
Okay.
That's the chin-up. I guess the other way is pull-up.
Oh, there's actually... I didn't really know there was that made a difference.
Yeah. Apparently you just get your chin to the bar from this picture.
Hell, man, I'm good to do like 3 sets of 10. And that's about it.
Shit, I can't even do that, so...
Alright, I have something like way less inspiring. Hold on.
Way less inspiring, huh?
Yeah, from
I'll
Reuters.
be the judge of that.
Reuters Lifestyle. Cuba's Iron Man, quote, Iron Man, beats himself with a sledgehammer and survives unscathed.
What?
Yeah.
What is
Havana, August 15th.
A lot of things.
On a leafy boulevard in downtown Havana, a man is beating himself with a sledgehammer on his wrists, elbows, and forearms, drawing a crowd of passerby who gather to film the spectacle with their phones. What shocks the crowd is not the apparent self-mutilation, but rather the fact that he appears to come away unscathed. Cuban Iron Man Lino Tomasin said he once aspired to be the next Mike Tyson, training to become a professional boxer by subjecting himself to millions of blows with the hammer, and eventually moving from the Caribbean island to fight in Mexico City. I had 27 matches, won by knockout, but I retired because in the last of them, I fractured the skull of my opponent, and he died instantly, the stocky Tomasi recalled in an interview with Reuters in Havana. I gave away all the money I made in my fights to his family, he said, estimating the sum to be over $100,000, a huge amount of money for most residents of Cuba. I vowed to never fight again.
I feel like this
Sounds
guy's
like
a liar.
Sounds like a video game character. Tommaso has since ridden off fame and fortune and makes a far more modest living in the streets of Havana and nearby
Beating
beach
himself with a
communities,
sledgehammer.
collecting tips from impromptu shows.
What size sledgehammer?
Hold on. On a recent sultry summer morning, the squat, lean 32-year-old chewed on a half-smoked cigar and wowed a crowd by doing push-ups on his bent wrists with a full-grown man on his back. Then he returned to beating himself with a sledgehammer, studiously pounding every joint in his arm to the winces of onlookers. It's all real, nothing fabricated, said Edward Carbonell, who watched Tomasin and all. He did some push-ups with me on his back. Oh, wow, so this guy... like, that guy's not a good source.
No.
The man that sits on your back and probably makes, I don't know, a few bucks off of you. Tomasin said he is content now to serve as an inspiration for those who strive to break barriers and has no regrets in leaving behind a potential career in boxing. They have offered me thousands, millions of dollars to get back into it because they know my potential. They know my potential that I have, and I have always said no, he said.
Wow.
I want to be remembered as someone who pushed the limits of what was possible, he said.
This guy is full of shit. I don't believe a word.
I don't know, dude. I'm pretty sure you can YouTube him beating himself with a
Oh,
sledgehammer.
no, not the sledgehammer part. But I'm talking about the being an ungodly badass boxer and fracturing a man's skull and killing him, and then donating his winnings to his family.
I don't know. See, maybe he actually believes it, because maybe like one of those sledgehammer blows like happened while he was watching $1 Million.
Was there pictures of him?
Yeah, just right there.
Oh, yeah, he's using like a 10-pounder, isn't he? Like a 10-pound sledge. And he's just smacking himself in the arms. He's really going at it.
I think maybe he was watching $1 Million Baby one day and like smacked himself in the head and just sort of amalgamated his life story with that. Except for he was the person who, you know...
Interesting.
Oh, look, there he is flexing with his hammer and smoking a cigar.
Because
He'd have to
cigar smoking is a mainstay in any boxing training regimen.
Probably in the 30s. I'm sure they knew which brand was the healthiest for you.
Yeah, I'm sure like Jack Dempsey was probably smoking and drinking a lot.
But that's my...
That was a good one, man. I wish I would have found that. Just so I could have gotten a laugh. Oh, here's my next one. This one's a good one. I feel sorry for this man. I feel like he was wronged because apparently in Pennsylvania at a Philadelphia Phillies and Pittsburgh Pirates game, a man was denied entry with his emotional support alligator.
Aw.
They wouldn't let him bring it in with him. What's his name? Joey Henney, a former hunting and fishing TV host. He's appeared apparently on ESPN Outdoors and some other like hunting networks or something, I guess. But he had his alligator Wally with him. He's had him for about 7 years and has him licensed as an emotional support animal. And those fuckers up in Philadelphia would not let him in with this alligator. He's holding... Look at him. He's so sweet. Look, he's holding him over his shoulder like a baby.
So,
well, when you see that...
is this the... So it was the Pirates versus who?
Philadelphia Phillies. Oh, what?
Was he a Phillies fan or was he a Pirates fan?
Look, he's wearing a red hat, so I'd say he's a Phillies fan.
Nah, it fits the pirate theme better.
If he was a Pirate and it was at Pittsburgh Stadium, they might have let him in.
Yeah, and if they didn't, they shouldn't call themselves the Pirates.
But yeah, he was at the gate. They turned him away, man. Look at all this. He visits hospitals for children. He visits
scaring
schools.
the cancer out of children.
He visits schools and lets Wally comfort the children while they're getting their chemotherapy and they just I think it's a sad day when you can't take your emotional support alligator into a baseball game with you.
I don't know. Can you imagine being like one of those kids waking up from some sort of fever dream and then the first thing you see is a fucking alligator in your face. Hey, kid, want to touch my like prehistoric lizard?
Well, I think they need to change some policies over there.
I think so too.
What else you got?
It's kind of a non-story, but it's fun anyway. Tekken 8 director addresses possibility of Kirby joining the game.
He's so full of shit. Harada's such a troll, dude.
Nah, it's all a joke, dude. Just because, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate had a bunch of guest fighters.
Yeah, Kazuya was in.
Yeah, this is from comicbook.com. But Kazuya was in it. It featured Kirby. Like, Kazuya dropping Ganondorf from a cliff was like the intro video. And then he tried to do the same with Kirby, but Kirby just, floated off unscathed.
Yeah, I remember that intro. He's dropping everybody pretty much, right?
Yeah, and then on Twitter, Harada was asked if Kirby might end up appearing. And he revealed why that won't be happening.
Oh, so he didn't, act like it. Sometimes he will, troll hard, dude, and act like something's gonna... I mean, they did Gon. And, I guess Gon is probably way more popular over there. He was from some anime or manga or something.
Yeah.
Remember in Tekken 3, the little dinosaur?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he was in, I can't remember. I think he had they actually did a show in recent years, because I think my kids watched it, or at least my daughter watched it, probably 6-7 years ago. It was a Gon cartoon on Netflix, but It was she watched a little bit of it, but it was in Japanese, so she couldn't understand any of it, and she couldn't keep up with the subtitles and shit, so she gave up on it. But I was like, I guess that's the first actual guest character crossover they ever had, but so it would be funny if they did have.
I like the idea of Kirby being in there, and I forget who was the wooden guy who did it.
Mokujin.
Yeah, and he was basically a mirror match every time because he did your style. They should do that with Kirby at the very beginning of the fight. He should eat whichever opponent he has, and then fight exactly like them.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or have him do some kind of Shang Tsung type thing, because it's kind of like Mokujin was Mokujin wasn't just your mirror match. He was
oh yeah, he could be any random style.
Every round he was somebody else's style.
That's true. They could do the same thing with Kirby. But first of all, who do you think Kirby would look like the funnest having eaten? I do like the idea of him eating Heihachi and then just having the hair and walking around.
That would be good.
And having a high pitched but deep voice. If he eats Yoshimitsu, he should just look like Meta Knight, though.
That's true.
Meta Knight with a lightsaber.
Really weird ass Meta Knight, yeah. Give him some bug-like features or some tentacles or something.
He eats ogre. He eats Kuma.
Oh yeah. Cool thing about that, since we're talking about Tekken, Kuma, when he was revealed for Tekken 8, since in the story, for whoever doesn't know and does whatever, Heihachi's dead. Finally.
How?
They killed him. Kazuya killed him in the
so that's
in the
canon?
story of Tekken 7, yeah. And Heihachi's dead, but Kuma is still in the next game, and he's wearing Heihachi's gi top, fat guy in a little coat, Chris Farley style. And then he has his red belt tied around his head like a headband.
That's awesome.
But and his they showed his of course his rage art and stuff. His rage art, he has a salmon again, but it's rocket powered. It's like a robot salmon. He hits him with it, and it pops out rockets on the side and shoots him into the sky and explodes and shit. Over the top Kuma shit, as always. I mean, it's a grizzly bear that fights like a grizzly bear and does some Heihachi style moves because he was trained Mishima style karate. So
I love the fact that Heihachi treated that bear better than any of his children or grandchildren.
His favorite, or his steps, or his what was it, his adopted son Lee?
Yeah, he treated that bear better than any human being he ever met.
Yeah, I guess he is if you wanted to rank them, it'd be Kuma and then Lee. So his pet bear. His adopted son, then his grandson, than his son.
Dude, the perfect like setup for that if they did it old school where they showed you the little beginning movies when they start to go through the tree it would just be him having fond memories of Heihachi, like, holding him there like, I love you best of all, taking him on like fishing trips and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Man, so is his story that he's sworn vengeance on Akuma? You've got Kuma hunting Akuma.
No, I don't know what they're gonna do with that part because Akuma obviously is not gonna be in Tekken 8, but
he just Zatsumaki back into his own franchise.
Yeah, they're probably not gonna be delving into that. They probably won't even tackle that. They'll probably just keep Kuma's story he's had for the past 15 years. He's chasing Panda because he's in love with her. That's been like his whole story. Like, and Panda's always like shooting him down or beating him up, or
probably because grizzly bears and panda bears can't breed.
Yeah, because panda bears aren't actually bears. For all you out there that didn't know that, there's a little science facts for you.
Yeah.
So if we just hit that mark, we can tick that off. Check.
See, for all you people, Nathan's the type of guy that tells children Santa isn't real.
Oh, I had another one. I love this one, dude. I hope I still kept everything up where I could see it. Yes. Okay. So, before we get into this, apparently I come across this thing called the Hambone Award.
All right.
Okay. It is an award. It's presented annually by the Veterinary Pet Insurance Company subsidiary of Nationwide Insurance.
Okay.
They pick an animal every year, I guess, from insurance claims, and they give them this Hambone Award. And they started the Hambone Award after they had a claim years ago with an unnamed dog. They have no name for him, sadly. I'd like to know this dog's name. He got trapped in a refrigerator for several hours, and he suffered a mild case of hypothermia, but while waiting to be rescued, he ate the entire family holiday ham that was in the refrigerator. So he had to go to the vet, and this is a claim, and there's, I guess, they get all the information. So that's the origin story of the Hambone Award. So there has been one every year since 2009.
I think it's a ham bone?
Like a Hambone Award. They nominate a Hambone Award every year. And they've been doing it since 2009.
Is the award like a full family's ham? Do they steal a random ham from a random family and give it to a randhem animal? Because also, what if it's a pig? Do they just give that pig ham? Because that's fucking horrifying.
No, I don't think they give any kind of gift. It's just and you get they do an article or they release it, and you get kind of your little 15 minutes of fame for your animal being weird, but or doing something stupid.
So does this also work like a presidential pardon for a turkey? Like, you can't cook that pig. It got the Hambone Award.
I mean,
that duck is a national treasure.
It has endless possibilities. I mean, they could keep going with it. But the one that won this year's 2023 Hambone Award was a cat named, what was his name? I think it was Giles.
Giles?
Or Giles? Yeah, it was Giles. Huh?
My name is Giles.
I don't know. It's Giles the cat. He's a black cat. He's beautiful. But the 15th annual Hambone Award was honored to Giles because apparently
they accused him of witchcraft and they stacked a bunch of stones on him. And then the cat said, "More weight."
No, unfortunately, It wasn't that righteous. I think they were moving. Or where was I can't remember now. Let me look back at this article. But essentially, this cat, these people, the owner's mother, they had a bed. What is it called? The couch with a bed in it.
Oh, a futon?
No. Like a couch where the bed actually folds out from the inside. It's an actual couch.
Yeah.
But it comes out of the inside.
Yeah,
Take the cushions out. Pull out bed. Whatever. Well, the cat was somewhere in there when she folded it up, and he was folded up inside the bed, and then where was it sent? Oh God, I can't remember now. Let me look.
So the cat was all folded like an accordion and lived,
Yeah, he was folded up in this bed.
and they didn't change his name to Dulcine.
Now, they should have. But yeah, wherever the bed was taken, I'm not seeing it here, but they heard him, I guess, meowing inside the couch. And when they pulled it out, he was folded up in like a pancake, like pancaked inside this. But this is the only thing that bothers me about it, is he wasn't even injured.
So why'd they take him to the vet?
Yeah. So does he technically, should he get the award? Because
Being a ham bone, doesn't that just mean you're goofy?
I guess you're a ham. You get the ham bone award because, wow, you got folded up in a couch like an accordion.
Yeah, I still think they should have changed his name to Dulcine or Accordion. Accordion the cat sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
actually.
Giles is kind of lame. I mean, it's just my opinion.
I don't know. Again, if they named him after Giles Corey from the Salem witch trials, that's pretty sweet.
Speedy recovery. I don't think it just says nothing of any kind of injuries.
Yeah, because they don't give out medical information, Nathan. That's a fucking HIPAA violation.
You can't. You're not allowed to know what injuries this cat sustained.
Medical privacy, man.
Oh god.
Ask the cat yourself.
You have another one?
No, man, I've got a very in-depth one that we can cover later, but
Okay.
I had those. Those two.
I got a
It was
couple
lightweight
more
for me. Cuban Hammer did it for me.
I got a couple more. This one's I just wanted to mention this because it's just ridiculous. We don't have to get much into it or discuss it much because there's not much there. But this apparently a couple in England, I think it's somewhere in the United Kingdom. Yeah. But
Ooh, I hope it's Scotland. And
one
I hope
of
you
the-
just made a whole country mad because you called them English.
it might have been Scotland. Now I think it might have been Scotland. Now you're making me worried. Let me check. I don't want to offend anybody. But it doesn't really matter where they're from. It's just kind of.
It does if they're Scottish or
just
Irish.
a
You call them
case of-
English.
Them.
It's just a case of light racism going on here. Is what it is. Like what I'm saying. Yeah, it matters to them, but it doesn't matter for the story. Okay.
These Belgian assholes.
What matters is the man, the father of this child in this story,
this human child
is a white man. This human child.
Oh, it matters.
It's not about race. It's white.
No, I said this is your case of mild racism in this
3
story.
episodes and we're about to get canceled.
The mother is Asian. Okay, they had a baby together, and
And what's wrong with that?
listen.
First Liechtensteinians in the first episode. Now everybody else.
The baby apparently got more of its mother's genes. That's
Okay.
what they're saying. So it looks more Asian than it does his father.
Okay.
Well, the father came home. His parents were watching the baby, babysitting the baby. When he came home early or some shit. I don't really care how it happened. He came home. He caught his mom giving the baby a home DNA test. Because she thought it looked too Asian and that his wife had cheated on him
Oh my god.
and had a baby with another Asian man. And she asked him not to say anything, but he told his wife because he felt like he had to. And then his wife started like restricting time that their kids had with his parents.
Fair.
Obviously, fairly so,
Yeah.
you know, but that's the story. But I just saw it popped up when I was going through
Whoa, whoa,
stories,
whoa.
and I was like, "What the fuck? Who does that?" Like, why don't you? If you think, even I personally would never run through my head. But if you were a person wouldn't you just talk to the person, like not sneak and go and buy your own like home DNA test and try to test the kid yourself? Like, it's so fucking weird, man.
I don't know, man. If they are that weird though, they probably wouldn't have any tact bringing it up. You know, it's like, so hey, I noticed the kid. Are you a whore? I feel like that's how it would probably go. You're a whore, right? You cheated on my son, right?
This baby's too Asian. There's not enough white in this baby.
I tried to give it mayonnaise and it refused.
It didn't want a mayonnaise sandwich at all. What is going on here?
It wanted seasoning on its food.
And I have one last story here. I kicked your ass this week.
Yeah.
And this one's we're going to go out on a low note.
All right, yeah. Cool.
I was just talking to Biz about this. Just recently. The woman's not even on trial yet. But, in South Carolina. Yeah. South Carolina woman. She's 25 years old. She was fucking like over 3 times the legal limit.
Okay.
Apparently, from information I've heard from reading and other sources, she was trying to drive home.
Yeah.
She's driving the wrong way, the opposite direction of her home,
Yeah.
on a street that was like 15 to 20 mile an hour speed limit. It was like in a neighborhood, driving 65 miles an hour. This couple, just recently married, on a golf cart going after their reception.
Okay.
So 2 people driving, they're sitting on the back. You know how golf carts have the seats on the back.
Yeah.
She hits these fucking people in this golf cart, kills the bride.
Jesus.
The groom, newly married groom, he like suffered brain injuries and a bunch of breaks. His arms and legs, I think, were broken. Threw him like almost 100 yards, a couple of them. But like the other 2, I think, were her relatives driving. I think it was her brother and his son or some shit like that. They were severely injured. And, but the crazy thing about this story is, dude, is all the stuff that's come out that she was having, like, it was like the jail's kind of version of like FaceTime calling, where you could call your family.
Okay.
It wasn't like in the normal old school way, where you're behind the glass. It was like a FaceTime type thing.
Yeah.
But it's all recorded. And I guess maybe they didn't know that. Maybe they didn't give a shit. But anyway, it's her talking with her dad. And it's her, like, so out of touch with, like, reality. You can tell she is, like, completely spoiled, has been all her life or something. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Like, entitled. She's like, how could this happen to me? How could this happen to me, Dad? And her dad is literally like, you hear him on the recording. Well, because good things or bad things happen to good people. It's like, bitch, this didn't happen to you. You did it. You're the one that caused it.
You happened to them.
Then she's like,
You are the bad thing.
then she's whining and crying about the press being involved so much. But this doesn't help me. That's not going to help me, the press being so involved. What will I do? And then she goes on this screaming, crying fit. And her dad and her parents are like using this baby voice to like fucking console her and try to get her to calm down. And like she's going on about her cat because she had a cat. She's gonna be in jail. The judge decided that she is going to stay. She's giving her no any type of bail or anything like that. She's gonna stay behind bars until I think like what was it?
Don't they know there's no laws
Like
when
March.
you're drinking claws?
I think like March. It happened in April. They crashed it. She's gonna stay. The judge decided he's gonna keep her behind bars until like March of 2024. Like
it's not that long for killing somebody.
No. Like before the trial.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of times, people have a bond.
Yeah.
Or whatever. He didn't allow that at all. And he said once that time, it's like, I can't remember exactly what all was said, but pretty much till that time, and then he would consider, if the trial had not begun, he'd consider letting her go on bond or whatever, on bail.
Because she's not a flight risk.
Well, no, under house arrest.
Okay.
But and their lawyer was like whining and crying, saying this is ridiculous because she's never been in any other trouble in her life and never even reprimanded in school and all this crap. And it's like, okay, but she just got ungodly smashed drunk. She drank a fucking Andre the Giant amount of fucking alcohol and then drove 65 miles an hour through a neighborhood and smashed into a golf cart and
Your Honor,
killed one person.
She has never killed anyone before.
What makes you think she'll do it again?
Yeah.
This was an accident. It wasn't even her fault. I can't believe you're doing this to her. But yeah, it was just... The thing that amazed me the most is just how out of touch her and her entire family seemed to be with fucking reality. I think the dad made some kind of comment about... when she was like, what are we going to do? He's like... I don't know if they're rich or something. They might have a lot of money or something. I don't know, but
Probably.
it sounds like they do from what I've heard because it was like he said some shit like something about we're gonna lawyer up. We're gonna get pretty much to the effect of we're gonna get such a good lawyer they're gonna think we're tied into the mafia or some shit like that. Like pretty much saying
Is her dad Donald Trump?
you couldn't get this lawyer unless you were fucking organized crime or some bullshit like that.
I'm sorry, kitten. The judge we got just isn't one of the judges we've bought.
Yeah. Pretty much. But yeah. So this is one we can keep track of, and I really hope they just fucking put the hammer down. I mean, look at her.
Oh God! She does look like. She looks like.
Oh my god.
Imagine a spoiled white woman, and then you like.
And it's exactly what you imagine. Yes.
Except she's a brunette.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the face.
If you wanted to stereotype her, put some blonde hair on her instead of brunette. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the end of my stories.
If you're one,
But I knew you, so you can go on into what you had planned there, sir. Lay it on me.
well, I know we were talking about just doing variety stuff, so I just wanted to get your opinion on dumb shit. You know, we wanted to talk about comics, video games, fantasy, movies, stuff like that. So I had some questions to hopefully start conversations. All fantasy based this week. So who's the best wizard in fiction and why, Nathan? In your opinion. So that could be anything in fiction. Doesn't have to be books. Can be video games. Can be comic books.
Oh God.
Yeah, who's and not the most powerful, like your favorite, essentially.
My favorite wizard in all of fantasy.
Well, it doesn't even have to just be fantasy. That's like John Constantine's technically a wizard.
I guess if you're gonna do it that way, that makes
Doctor
it even
Strange,
harder.
Yeah.
No, there's a difference. There's like sorcerers.
That's true, but for like the purposes of this,
You want to get real nerdy.
yeah, for the purposes of this, if it's Dungeons and Dragons or something, we'll delineate sorcerers and warlocks and stuff. But if purposes of comic books, since sorcerers function, Doctor Strange, even though he's the Sorcerer Supreme's a fucking wizard. Because, technically Gandalf's a wizard, and by, like, the definition of Tolkien's wizards, Harry Potter's not a wizard. But in Harry Potter's universe, he's a wizard because it's a wizarding school.
Yeah, but they also call the female.
Not too much on Harry Potter. Not too much on Harry Potter.
Well, I've given people shit over the years for Harry Potter just to be a troll, but the one thing that really did kind of bug me about Harry Potter is why do they call the female wizards witches? Like, just call them wizards. A witch is not the same thing. Like, I don't know. That's the one thing that kind of just bugged me. It's like, why not just call them all wizards?
I don't know, man, because I guess that just gets into, like...
But it is J.K. Rowling,
Then you get into, like, weird magical traditions and
the
shit.
things we've learned about J.K. Rowling now, too, as a person.
Say all the bad things about it.
No, I mean, the stories are fun. They're cool. I mean, they're not my favorite.
Who's your favorite wizard?
My favorite wizard, I'm just going to go Gandalf.
All right. Why Gandalf instead of Merlin?
Why? I don't know. Merlin's always been cool. I mean, I like the shit.
I'm not just sort of putting you on the spot. I'm not being a dick. I don't care. I'm not disagreeing.
I don't know. It's just like I'm biased because I grew up.
Oh yeah,
with Gandalf and the Lord of the Rings and all of Tolkien stuff because my dad, was a super fan and was like a fucking like you are with Marvel Comics. My dad was with fucking Tolkien, and like you could ask him questions just about random shit, and he could just spout it off and tell you everything about it. And he would sit. I mean, from my earliest ages, 2, 3 probably, when I have actual memories. I can remember him sitting and reading, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings to me and my sister, and doing voices for everybody and shit, and like so, and just I don't know, just Gandalf's character and just a lot of his lines and the way he like first thing that pops in my head is like his talk with Frodo on the boat when Frodo sees Gollum following the boat, swimming in the water. You see his eyes, and he's like, Frodo makes the comment of, like, why doesn't somebody kill him? And, Gandalf, I don't remember the exact line right now. I've got some alcohol in me. But, Gandalf, gives him the things like, who are you to, choose? Yeah. Why do you think you have the right to choose whether he lives or dies? And that kind of, and I don't know, just Gandalf's entire character, just what he was just, it wasn't just the wizard. It was just everything about his character. So he's my favorite wizard, probably. All right. For sure.
Do you like him better as Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White?
I don't know. Gandalf the White's more down to business. Yeah. Whereas, Gandalf the Grey's more laid back and kind of like a fucking flake. You know what I mean? Like he would just fucking, all right. You look at this. You look at this here. You see this parchment. You stare at this. I'll be back.
In 10 years.
10 years later, he shows up knocking on the door. But,
that's the One Ring!
Where Gandalf the White's like, which, with all the... It's not completely said, but anybody that's fans of Lord of the Rings and stuff, and when Gandalf fought, and how he describes the fight with the Balrog, and falling into the depths, fighting it to the death, he died. Sorta. Kinda. Not really. He didn't really die, because technically you don't know if he can die. But you get the gist that there's this whole thing, and you've probably seen it, where like with people, fans of Tolkien's writings and stuff, there's like, I think 3 times they've narrowed it down that Eru or Iluvatar, the main god of everything, the creator, interfered with things going on.
So Gandalf's one of them.
He brought Gandalf resurrected, and that's Gandalf the White. He put him in the power of Saruman, and that's how he was able to strip Saruman. I think a lot of people realize that. Like Peter Jackson didn't get it, obviously, in the movies, but when he stripped him, he didn't just strip him of his title. He stripped him to like a mortal level.
Yeah, I mean, he still had some magical abilities, but
he was immortal. And Wormtongue killed him in the appendices, when the Scourge of the Shire and all that. And
Owlay and the Dwarves was one, right?
Yeah, that doesn't count. That was during the creation. Count as an interference. I don't.
Well, no, that wasn't during the creation because like the.
Well, that was before the children. It was before the elves were awake and everything.
But Middle Earth, they were still in Middle Earth though. Like the Valar.
Yeah, I don't know if they. There's 3 times during like.
Okay. Then what are these other 2 times?
Where it's their time to do it themselves, kind of, and he's kind of stepped in. I think the other time was, let me think here. Fuck. Now you're like, I'm having brain farts now, and I can't remember.
Getting into some deep nerd shit. We've already lost like 90% of
Well,
who the fuck is Owlay?
But there's, God damn it. There's another time. When was I don't know. Look it up.
Does it have to do with?
You want to fucking know where Eru fucking interfered with shit? You look it up on Google.
All right.
No, I can't remember right now, and I feel bad because I used to know all 3 of the suspected times that Eru intervened. One of them is very, super obvious, and I don't know why I'm not remembering
It has nothing to do with like the Morgoth stuff, does it?
I don't think he ever intervened during Morgoth. Supposedly. It's all speculation.
Well, then it
And
was
real cool before this, like, you know how there's been all this, like, before we go to something else, because we've been on this far too long, and like you said, we've driven off.
Yeah, I've got more questions, man. Like I said.
Is the Tom Bombadil, we'll have to talk about the coolest Tom Bombadil theory I've heard.
All right. There's several of those. There's several good
There's
ones.
a lot of them, but like my dad had one. But there's one me and Dad actually discovered together on like watching stuff on YouTube and stuff together, and it makes the most sense.
All right, so here's one that's a little more lighthearted that probably won't take too long to discuss. Who do you think smokes more? Here's one that's a little more lighthearted, probably won't take too long to discuss. Who do you think smokes more, hobbits or wizards?
Hobbits.
Really?
Because they're lazy sitting on their porches every single night.
Yeah, but they garden and they eat. I don't know, man. I just always picture a wizard like.
Maybe, I don't know.
For the most part, I think of wizards smoking weed and shit. Although, you know, you think
maybe it depends on the wizard.
Yeah, it does. But also, like when they don't smoke, you end up like Raceland from Dragonlance, or that's probably why Saruman ended up being a dick because he didn't smoke. You know, and, I'm Saruman of many colors.
Well, it was like Radagast. You think of Radagast, and disclaimer here: not Radagast portrayed in the
shitty
Hobbit movies.
yeah.
No, but Radagast in the actual book, just because the type of wizard he was, being a nature and animal oriented, he was probably smoking his pipe all the damn time.
I imagine that's where Gandalf.
Birds weren't shitting all over his head, though. I
imagine that's who Gandalf used to get his shit from before he discovered the Shire. All right, let's see. Obviously, like your favorite fantasy universe would be Tolkien's. What do you think the best fantasy universe? And we're talking fantasy here, not like Marvel Comics or DC Comics, but fantasy. What is the best fantasy universe outside of Tolkien?
That's hard, but recently, from the books, and I haven't even started on the games, but and the show, which it wasn't bad. A lot of people had complaints about watering down of certain things, but The Witcher,
Yeah.
that's probably right now. It's have to change if I find something.
Just depends on what you're obsessed with at the time.
Yeah,
right?
but The Witcher definitely.
Because if
just the universe, and if I was really going to pick, like, there's so many fantasy books that I've read that are cool, and like I really enjoyed, and they were not bad. I've read some bad ones, but
everybody has.
But I mean, like, I love Conan, and that it surprised me because Conan's really up there too. But I'd say just from reading and the character of Geralt of Rivia and his character, and just, I don't know, just like his own his own twist he puts on the fantasy genre, and like, and then sprinkling in all the
well, it's
Slavic and like
Slavic folklore,
and folklore and stuff like that. Like, I really, really enjoy it. Like, it's cool as hell. So it's probably my second to Tolkien.
Yeah, but like you said, it could probably change depending on, because
if I find something.
If I asked you 3 years ago, it probably would have been the Elder Scrolls universe. I'm assuming
the Elder Scrolls, is up there, still probably third. Right there, it's right like neck and neck with Witcher, because the Elder Scrolls too they've done so much shit to like fuck it up with this Elder Scrolls Online and stuff, and like they keep going against their own fucking lore. So that's the thing that bugs me about
so it's
them.
diminished it somewhat for you.
It kind of has, like, if you just stick to the baseline games, like the mainline games, like, I still like, there's so much cool shit in the lore of that, and it's really hard to compare that too, because you think about it, you have teams of hundreds working years and years creating all that shit compared to like one author, like, you know, like, I don't know.
All right, here's a question for you. It just popped in my head. Pre any of the sequel series, would you consider the Dragon Ball anime a fantasy universe? Like, without Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball GT or Dragon Ball Super happening, just Dragon Ball. If it had remained only Dragon Ball, one and done, would that be a fantasy universe?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it still kind of is.
Oh, even with all like it almost being more superhero sci-fi now. Because as soon as they go into space, dude, it kind of feels like it goes for. It feels like it goes from fantasy,
sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, fair.
It's like Star Wars. It's not straight sci-fi.
Because same with Star Wars. Star Wars is like a fantasy sci-fi western.
I mean, even Star Trek is sci-fi fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, it's far closer to science fiction.
True, but man, if you look at its roots, I'd say sci-fi because it's like it's based in that. Oh, Americans going into space.
Yeah, I love Star Trek. Though.
Star Trek's great. All right, let's see. What fantasy universe do you think has the best take on like Drow or Dark Elves? You've got the Elder Scrolls with their lore. You've got Forgotten Realms with like Drizzt and Lolth and stuff like that. You do have Tolkien coining the phrase Dark Elf. There's with only Eel. One though. Yeah, there was only one, but obviously it wasn't like, even though it was Tolkien, it wasn't as expansive as what would come later with the whole concept of like Drow and things like that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't even like lump in this type for this question. I wouldn't lump Tolkien because he pretty much created the idea.
Yeah, he created
with one elf. You know what I mean? Like he was just one guy.
But I would still
I count him, and I love the story of Eel.
He sort of grandfathered it.
Yeah, like the story of Eel is really cool and like sad and all that tied in. Like, but
yeah, but it's not taking anything away from it if you don't pick Tolkien. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I wouldn't even like probably count him in my choice because his Eel is kind of like the godfather of Dark Elves. So like, if I was gonna pick, and it would be kind of, it's not really fair because I'm only read a little bit of Drizzt, and like I don't know an extensive amount of information about like the Drow, like enough to like do a full comparison. What I do know, I would probably pick my favorite out of anything I've heard with Dark Elves, even like World of Warcraft and that kind of shit.
I'm talking about as a people, just like the lore in general.
Probably
not
Elder
one
Scrolls.
Single
Elder Scrolls, because they started as the Chimmer, and then you got all this stuff with Vivek and the others. I can't think. What was his name? Dagathor and them who rose to godhood, like god level type beings, and then the then the Chimmer like left the ways of worshiping fucking Azura, and Azura cursed them because they stopped following their ways and all that shit and turned them into Dark Elves. And like, that's just a cool ass lore, dude. Like, they're fighting the dwarves, the Elder Scrolls dwarves when they were Chimmer, and all the wars with the dwarves, and
which are also somehow elves.
Yeah, the dwarves. Yeah, the
dwarves are elves.
They just called them that. Like in the Elder Scrolls lore, the name, they were called Dwemer.
Yeah,
the dwarves. The dwarf name was from the giants.
Yeah, it's
the giants called.
Was that
them dwarves.
Confirmed, or is that supposedly?
That's in the lore that the dwarves.
I remember reading about it, but I thought that they theorized it was from the giant, according to the books that you read.
Yeah, that's like what it is. Like, it's pretty much like that's what's taken as truth. You know what I mean? I guess it's supposed to be in their history. That's what's been recorded, so that's what people. Yeah, so that's what people believe.
It is written, so it is so.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say the Dark Elves.
So I like that, but that might be my third favorite, and it's definitely one of the most unique. I think I like either the Forgotten Realm stuff because they just crafted a whole religion about it. You know what I mean? There's also the changing of the like weird deep lore with how the Dark Elves became the Dark Elves. Drizzt is pretty cool. He is a little overrated in certain respects. Drizzt is cool, but the whole idea around Lolth and that sort of stuff. I'd also say, oddly enough, and I don't even know if it'd be my second favorite, but I do kind of like the way that Marvel uses them, mostly because of, in the comics, not the shitty second Thor movie where they're weird space people, but Malekith, like, anytime Malekith has shown up in, like, the runs of, like, the Jason Aaron run most recently. And then
his name is Malekith, isn't it? I was just saying because there's a Daedric prince in Elder Scrolls called Malekith. which is probably drawn
and
from
then
that.
Walt Simonson, I think, created him, if I remember right, and like his original appearances, and that's always been interesting, and I don't want to get into that, or I'll talk for like 2 hours. But all right, here's this question will be a little off balance. I'm not going to be as fair with this one. Dwarves versus elves, man. In general, what do you like better? And if you pick elves, why are you wrong?
I was gonna say dwarves anyway,
Okay.
because even in Elder Scrolls, when it comes to the elven races,
even in Elder
Scrolls where the dwarves are elves, I like the dwarves the most, because they were just like, even in Elder Scrolls, the dwarves are like this fucking badass,
Yeah.
highly advanced. The dwarves you have to give you got to lump the dwarves in Elder Scrolls with all the badass dwarves from everything else, even though they're not the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because they were like
The dwarves
they
are
were
still
they fucking took like magic,
Yeah.
used it to power machines that they created when they would endlessly run, and like, but then they like they said, "Fuck the gods. We don't worship the Aedra. We don't worship the Daedra. Like, we don't care about that. Like,
No gods, no masters. We're metal as fuck.
yeah, it was cool as hell. Like, the whole thing behind them is really cool. And even the story of pretty much their arrogance and just like, it was sheer panic too in that, the story of how they were supposedly disappeared with Cagnarak striking the fucking heart of Lorcan with the fucking I
can't remember that.
the gauntlet he created and the fucking hammer.
And all of them disappeared except for that fat one from like
Morrowind.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't remember how he was able to stay behind.
Yeah.
But they're all gone. Nobody knows if they went to an alternate dimension, if they're all dead,
if their souls inhabit their machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Dwarves.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I guess we agree on that, so I don't really have to put my stamp on that. Because dwarves are the best. All right. Last question.
What?
How do you feel about orcs, like the orc as a heroic character rather than just the run-of-the-mill bad guy? Do you got a preference? Do you not like that? Do you like a mix of both? Do you like the orc to always be defined as a bad guy? Is there room for it to be a good guy? Does it depend on the universe? How do you feel about that?
I've always liked, outside of Tolkien, where they're just like evil created beings.
Yeah.
Which at first, I remember discussing this stuff with my dad years ago when where things had orcs in them. He's like, when he didn't know anything about the stories from like other shit or from games or whatever, he'd be like, why the hell are orcs are fucking, because he just knew it from reading those books, they're just complete pieces of shit that just destroy and kill shit just for the fuck of it. And then I explained to him like how the like aspect of orcs is like evolved over time, and people have taken Tolkien's idea and like turned them into like most things, just make them as like a tribal type.
Yeah.
And like even the stuff we've been writing together, which we haven't done in a while, but we were writing together, we even made them like more of a tribal type thing. I like that.
Yeah.
Like I love the whole, not to keep going back to Elder Scrolls, but the Elder, like say how Elder Scrolls did it, where I like them as and with our idea for what we were writing, it's like I like them as like a spurned. They've been, they're like
outcasts.
Outcasts. Like that's like really fitting, and it works really well, and it really worked in the Elder Scrolls stuff, and it's been used, I'm sure, before in other various ways, but like,
well, it's been well done. I think like World of Warcraft's even done it pretty well.
Yeah, they're spurned because they're not understood, and they came from another realm. They're perfectly normal from where they came from, but and there's like in the Elder Scrolls shit where they were like originally something different, and then the god that they worshipped, who became Trinimac, who was devoured by Boethia and all that bullshit, and is regurgitated and became Malakath, and all of his people were changed. That's the origin story. You don't know if it's true, but and then like everybody throughout that history has fucking treated them like shit too, and they fought to like find their place, and like I like that. Like,
I do too, and even the concepts even sort of evolved in Dungeons and Dragons, which obviously took its cues from Tolkien, where they've essentially always they're all always evil all the time, and you had the half orc, which could be evil, good, like good to evil to anything in between. But now I think if I remember correctly, like you can play full on orcs that are actually good. It's it's the exception rather than the rule. Like the same thing with drow. There are drow that aren't evil, but it's the exception rather than the rule. And they've done that with like goblins too. Now, don't get me wrong. Like in games, I love like smacking goblins around. That's great. But occasionally, I like to have a heroic goblin or a heroic orc or groups of where they're more shades of gray instead of a.
Yeah, I like seeing a goblin with more character. Kind of like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like that game. What's it called?
Sticks.
Sticks.
Oh, I love Sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Underrated games. Download them, buy them. There needs to be a third one. Well, I mean, there needs to be a third solo Sticks game. Technically, he's in 3 games.
Yeah, whatever I don't remember. I always forget Orcs and Men. I always forget the series he's tied to. But yeah, it works really well with. Well, it's just like, and then you got that made me think when you were talking about half orcs and all that kind of shit. The champion. Remember in Oblivion when you did the.
Oh, the gray. The Gray Prince?
Yeah, when you did the Colosseum.
Yeah.
And he ended up being the son of an orc woman and a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. And then, but it's fucking sad, really. Like you help him find his history.
Yeah.
And like when you come back and tell him that his father was a vampire, he's all like completely
Distraught.
Devastated and destroyed by that. And so then when you fight him in the Colosseum, if you do the quest that way, he doesn't even fight back. He just lets you kill him. I'm like, that's kind of sad.
Off topic or semi off topic. When you won the Colosseum? What'd you pick as your nickname?
I don't fucking remember, man.
I remember what I picked.
Skull Crusher. All the guys announcers, it's like that same guy that does like the voices for all the fucking Nords and shit. And he's like, Skull Crusher. Yeah. I don't remember what I picked though.
And I didn't actually when I did my Oblivion playthrough, I didn't actually get the quest where I got to find out who his dad was, so I had to fight that motherfucker.
My guy was a sneaky bitch.
Oh yeah.
Because I was a Breton. And I was all stealth. And then I got that Wizard's Tower you could get? That's the add-on later?
I didn't have the DLC.
But
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, there was a Wizard's Tower, and you could do the... That's when they had the spell creation and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured out how to do a 100% chameleon spell. And you remember chameleon, right?
Yeah.
There's invisibility, where you could be invisible as soon as you touch anything or attack anything. You become visible again. First hit, first grab, whatever. Pick anything up. Chameleon, you could attack stuff and you would stay, but you were not fully invisible. You were transparent, kind of like the Predator or some shit. Yeah. You get the best spell you could get was 50% chameleon. So as soon as you could still be detected, but you attack somebody, sneak attack somebody, then they could figure out where you were. Yeah. Well, I created a chameleon spell where it was 100%.
Yeah.
And I was a monster. I went through all of Oblivion, all of Marin's Dagon's realm, just fucking slaughtering everybody, and nobody even saw where I was.
Could you have broke the math like you can do in those games and made it 110%?
I probably could have.
You're at actually 10% of you somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I didn't feel like it was necessary. I could just keep casting that.
I'm like a lich. I'm anchored to that piece of me that's not there. That 10% is peen in the Wizard Tower.
Right.
But yeah, I guess that's it, man. That's all I got for the
cool
little fantasy questions. I just figured, we could do if you liked this or if it's liked, we could just do some random nerding out.
Yeah.
You could write the questions next week if you want.
Feels good, man. I like it. Let's do it. Until next time.